for joining me for the flip through of this Home Sweet Home journal. I started making this on a Friday live a while back. If I think of it, I will link that video in the description box in case you wanted to check out the process of putting this together. I have a lot I want to tell you about it, but the first thing I want to tell you is that this cover I purchased at Hobby Lobby, and it is a ring bound. So it's got a nice snap closure. I left this plain on the outside just in case somebody does want to throw this in their purse or their bag. I wanted to make sure it could go into a bag and somebody not worry about it getting banged up. I also want to mention that this will be available in my Etsy shop. As I start going through these tags, I want to share a little bit about some of the ephemera and things that you're going to see in here. One thing is, I used my printable kit simply called Farmhouse. And so that's mostly what you'll see in here. This is one of the tags from the kit. I'm going to show you these real quick. These are all kit tags. This is a piece of paper from the kit. This was printed out on 8.5 by 11, so there's 2 of these. And then I simply cut the 8.5 by 11 in half and rounded the corners and put it in this nice big pocket. Now I want to talk to you about this because this is not part of my kit. It's a wonderful addition. And so the other thing I wanted to share with you about what you're going to see inside of this journal, for my 2K and my 4K giveaways, I had folks send me in items in themes that would coordinate with journals that I planned on doing. And this one, the theme was Home Sweet Home. Now, I want to turn the page so you don't get bored. So I just want to point out daisy trim, and all of this is from my kit. Okay, now we're turning the page. So now I want to share with you that the folks that contributed to Home Sweet Home theme was Rosie's Creative Wings, Quolita's Creations, Kim's Inspired Life, Denise Garcia, and Kawaii Memo Love. So when you see something like this is all my kit, but this little piece is from one of those lovely ladies. So I'll try to point out what's the kit and what is from my friends, just so that you guys know. This whole thing is from the printable kit, as is that. Oh, actually, I want to mention too that I did use a scrapbook pack in this journal, and the name of it was something like, I think, Farmhouse Market or Farmer's Market, something like that. Now this was given to me by one of my crafty friends that I mentioned just a minute ago. So my kit is printed out. Some of the pages are back to back with my printable, and then some have the, is it Farm Fresh Market? I can't remember. Anyway, it's a printable and that is it, but this is from my kit. And this is also from my printable, and this is from one of my crafty friends that sent me wonderful goodies. Here we have a side pocket, a piece of ephemera, authentic, I might mention, from one of my friends, and a pretty little tag. This is the scrapbook paper, and here's a here's a tag that I made. This is a little tag from one of my crafty friends. So here's a nice little belly band with a piece from one of my friends. And they also sent me this vintage cooking card, and I created a tag. Over here we have a nice big paper clip, as you can see, and a tag from my kit. I think I mentioned the name, but just in case I didn't, it is called Farmhouse. And then this is from one of my crafty friends. Isn't it so cute? And it works so perfectly in here. This is another item. This is a vintage coaster, and this was from my crafty friends. And then this too. Let's see if I want to show this to you. I have a couple of things put put together here under this little paper clip, but we have this tiny little wooden paper clip, a pocket made from a doily, and then here is what is in there. Isn't it so cute? And look at this sweet doily, all embellished. Isn't that a great pocket? Here's another piece from a crafty friend. I put this back and I just flipped the page, so you didn't miss anything. I didn't add any pockets or anything to this page because I feel like it's light enough that it can be written on. And this page I didn't either, but you could mount a photo, you could mount a piece of paper, you could use this piece of paper to mount, just a little bit of, a little space here so that you can have some creative freedom. This is an original piece of one of my eco die prints from my rose bush. I've been hoarding it for a while now, and I'm finally sharing. I have shared a few pieces, but not that many. On this page, we have a nice little pocket and a couple of tags. A nice little pocket up here with a positive message and a sweet little tag. Over here we have a chandelier pocket. No, it's not. It's not a pocket. It's a side tuck. And tucked under it is a tag and this cute little house tag that was created and sent to me by one of my wonderfully crafty friends. Over here we have a nice belly band. This spread here is part of the printable kit of mine. And then a guest check from one of my crafty friends and a tag from my printable kit. All of this is part of my printable. And then we have a tag from a crafty friend and a tag from my printable and a little piece of ephemera from my crafty friend. Here we have a nice little side pocket. And inside this pocket, we have a tag from the printable kit and then tags from my friends. Here is a really fun paper clip that has this little tiny tag inside. See if I can take it out. Look, it's so cute, right? Just goes right there. And then this was from one of my crafty friends, and it's a house tag. Isn't it so great? I absolutely love it. So I have that popped right under that paper clip. Over here we have a little side tuck space with a tag. You can see that this is a ring-bound journal, so you can switch these papers out, subtract some, add some, total flexibility of how you'd like to use this journal. I felt like this was light enough to write on, so I didn't do anything to that. We have a nice side pocket here, and a tag from the printable, and then a tag from one of my crafty friends. Here we have a nice side tuck area, but I put a tab down here because this tag has a little bit of weight to it because it's got a belly band and then a smaller tag underneath the belly band, and then you can also write on this one. But because of the extra weight, I didn't want it falling out and going everywhere. So I added this nice little tab down here, and that does help keep it nice and secure. Here's a page that I felt like was light enough to write on. It's definitely got some browns, but they're not super dark. This is part of my kit as well. Both of these items were from crafty friends. This is a kit page too. And then here in our back pocket, we have an item from a crafty friend. Look at this fantastic tag. Isn't that great? And then a piece from my printable kit. We'll slide that in there, and we'll just pop this in here as well. And my friends, that is it. This is available in my Etsy shop if you would like to have this. It was so fun to make. It was a lot of fun on the Friday Live as well. It was a live that I did with my friend Tanya of Side Gig Crafts. So this was just great, great fun. All right, my friends, I'll have everybody linked in my description box who participated and contributed to this journal. And I'll have the link to my Etsy shop in there as well, in case you love this and you want to make it your own. All right, thanks for watching. See you soon.